Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यस्तु श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्यस्तु श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी महाराज श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय। आनंद कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधारा श्री वासुदेव गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय। श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय। श्री मायापुर नवद्वीप धाम की जय। श्री गंगा मैया की जय। श्री जमुना मैया की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी की जय। सामवेद भक्त वृंद की जय। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna, Gora Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Welcome everybody to Caitanya Charitamrita, His Holiness Jayādvaita Swami It is Thursday, August 28th in 2025. Today we're starting with CC Adila, chapter 16, text 55. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, I'll begin with text 55 here. Avimrista Vidayamsa Dvaitani China Vruda Mati Bhagna Krama Punar Ata Dosha Tina. Translation. In this verse, the fault of Avimrishta Vidayamsa occurs twice, and the fault of Viruda Mati, Bhagna Krama, and Punar Ata occur once each. All right, see, Guru Maharaj has joined us. Welcome. We're glad you're here with us. Guru Maharaj, would you like to comment on this text?
No, carry on, please.
Okay, so now we're carrying on to text 56, Adilila 1656. Kangara Mahatva Soke Mula Videya Idam Sabde Anuvada Pache Avideya. Translation. The glorification of the Ganges, Mahatvam Gangaya, is the principal unknown subject matter in this verse, and the known subject matter is indicated by the word idam, which has been placed after the unknown. Okay, 57. Videya. Oh, yes, Guru Maharaj.
This is a fault. In English, it wouldn't be a fault, but in Sanskrit composition, it's a fault. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Krishnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Shamiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Shatarini. This comes up in the discussion of the verse Ete Chamsa Kala Pumsa Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. The discussion is that just give me a moment. Yes, that the subject should be presented first, and then what we need to say that people don't already know about the subject. So Kaviraj Goswami argues that the point is to say what we don't know about Krishna. First we introduce Krishna, and then we say what needs to be said about Krishna, what we need to know about Krishna. So it's Krishna, and then he's Bhagavan Swayam, he's the personality of Godhead. And Kaviraj Goswami, if it was just meant to add something else about Bhagavan, he's also Krishna, just as he's also Ram, he's also so many others, then it would have been the other way. Then we would have seen Bhagavan first and then Krishna. But no, it's Krishna. And then what don't we know about Krishna? We don't know that he's Bhagavan Swayam, the original personality of Godhead. And Kaviraj Goswami argues there that that's how we have to read it, because of otherwise we'd have the fault mentioned here. Okay, Hare Krishna.
Guru Maharaj, would you like to read, or should I continue?
Now I have to get my spot, because it's jumped. So we're in what verse?
Okay, we just finished text 56. So now we're on 57, and we have a question.
And that's okay, but tell me the chapter, because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
56.
Yeah. Adi, chapter 16.
Okay, 16. That was the unknown. I knew that it was
Yeah.
Chaitanya Charitamrita was known, but it's
1656.
1656. Okay. Let's see if my bookmark is properly working, which it should be. Okay, now my bookmark. Okay. Vidheyage kohi, pache kohile anubad, el lagi, loker arto, koriache bad. Because you have placed the known subject at the end, and that which is unknown at the beginning. Composition is faulty, and the meaning of the words has become doubtful. Anubadam anuktaiva navditayam udirayet nahilabta spadam kinchit kutrachit pratitishtati. This is the evidence, a verse from the Ekadasi Tattva. Without first mentioning what is known, one should not introduce the unknown, for that which has no solid basis can never be established anywhere. Okay. There was a question.
Yeah, there's some questions referring to text 56, I believe. Praveen Prabhu writes, how is this idam known and Mahatvam Gangaya unknown?
Okay. 56. Okay. No, it's not 56. It's referring to his verse, right?
Well, Prabhu wrote it like when I was reading text 56. So,
okay, let's see.
Jumping ahead, it seems to be that Praveen Prabhu is talking about text 56. Maybe
yeah, but it's talking about, but it's going back to the original verse, which on a Kindle is hard to find. Let me just switch to my phone. Which verse? Well, I can find it. Give me
1656.
I know that. Give me a moment. That's what's known.
T41. Is that referring to the original? Okay,
yeah, it's referring to the original.
I see.
So give me a moment. Adi Lila 16. Now I can find it because my phone lets me scan. Okay. '41, yes. So Mahatma Ganga idam. So Abhati. Mahatma Gangaya. So now let's see what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's criticism is in 56. It seems that idam, answering, how is idam in the original verse? How is it known? Idam, because idam is referring to Ganga. Just like we say, I was walking by the Ganges. This is the principal river in Mayapur. So Idam is already known because Ganges is already known. Idam refers to what's already been mentioned, this. So the Ganges has already been mentioned. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already said, compose some glorification of the Ganges. And there's 100 verses recited like the wind. And Idam. So Idam is known. Idam refers to the Ganges. That's the subject matter we're talking about. So known, this. But what is it that we don't know about the Ganges? Oh, Mahatvam Gangaya, Abhati Nitaram. The greatness of Mother Ganges always shines. Or rather, that's what we don't know. We know that it's Edom, but we don't know about Mahatvam Gangaya. We don't know about her greatness. So that's the unknown. That's the point here, it seems. Is that okay? Is it clear enough?
Praveen Prabhu writes, what Videya and Avideya means in Sanskrit dictionary.
Okay, we'll look that up. Give me a moment. I'm sure they both mean many things, but let's see if they're relevant. Yeah. To be stated or settled or established. That would be the relevant one among the various, to be bestowed or secured, to be used or employed, to be stated or settled or established. That's Videya. And then we have Avideya, right?
Videya, yes.
Yes. Then Avideya would be the opposite. Avita. Yeah. It doesn't give the Sanskrit dictionary, it doesn't give me a direct, doesn't give me a direct meaning. But if Videya is that which is to be established or settled, then Avideya would be the opposite, that which is already settled, established, known, and so on. Okay? Yeah.
Text 59.
Yes. Advitiya Sri Lakshmi. Iha Dvitiya Tva Videya. Samase Gona Hoilo. Shabdartha Gelo Shoy. In the word Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi, a second all opulent goddess of fortune, the quality of being a second Lakshmi is the unknown. In making this compound word, meaning became secondary, and the originally intended meaning was lost. So this is a second instance of the same fault. Advitiya Shabda Videya Taha Parilo Shomashe Lokmir Shomata Arto Korila Binashe. because the word Dvitiya, second, is the unknown. In its combination in this compound word, the intended meaning of equality with Lakshmi is lost. So that's the same fault. This may be a little subtle because, after all, these verses were composed by the greatest Sanskrit poet, and he thought he had it right. So it took someone of the caliber of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to find all these faults. An ordinary person would hear this verse and say, "Ooh, how brilliant, how poetic, how marvelous." But Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, yes, there are good qualities and there are faults. No, there are no faults. No, there are faults. Let's discuss both. All right, let's hear what you think are the faults. Grammar student, what do you know? So then the grammar or grammar teacher, you're just teacher of grammar, which is the ABC stuff, the basics stuff of grammar. But we're here in Kavya and poetry. This is way beyond the scope of grammar. So what are you going to be able to say about it? Well, I don't really know anything about grammar, but I've heard about poetry, but I've heard from some critics of poetry, so I can say something. And not Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's tearing him apart. So this may seem subtle to us that the Dvitiya should have been after, not first. Dvitiya Sri Lakshmi should have been Sri Lakshmi Dvitiya, so that we would know that it's Lakshmi, that it's, after all, this is, anyway, we should have known that the subject is Sri Lakshmi, and what we don't know about Sri Lakshmi, or rather, what we don't know is that it's like a second Lakshmi. So this is another instance of the same fault. Avamrishta vidheyanksha e dosher nam ar ekodosha ache shuno shabodhan. Shabodhan, yeah. Not only is there the fault of avamrishta vidheyanksha, but there's also another fault, which I'll point out to you. Kindly hear me with great attention. And now comes the fault that we hear most often, the killer fault in this verse. Not the killer fault, but certainly the one that receives the most mention. Bhavani Bharcha Shubto Dile Paya Shantosh Viruddha Matikrit Nam E Mahadosh. This is a big fault. Here's another great fault. You've arranged the word Bhavani Bharcha to your great satisfaction, but this portrays the fault of contradictions. Bhavani Bharcha, you have alliteration, so it's, when we have that in English also, it's an ornament, alliteration, repetition of the sound pa, Bhavani Bharcha. So it sounds like a great word. Bhavani Shobde Kohe Mahadever Grihini Tar Bharta Koile Dutiya Bharta Jami. The word Bhavani means the wife of Lord Shiva. But when we mention her husband, one might conclude that she has another husband. The Bhavani means Lord Shiva's wife. Yes, Parvati. So as Shiva has many names, Krishna has many names. So Parvati, Sati. He has so many different names. The goddess, the Shakti, in one sense. That's told by Krishna when he orders Durga to appear and to fool Kamsa. Says you'll be known by different names, and there's a big list of names for the goddess, as she's often known, the Kapti. So one of them is Bhavani. So she's known as Bhavani. So that's who we're talking about. Now, what does Bhavani mean? It means the wife of Bhava, because Lord Shiva is known as Bhava, so his wife is known as Bhavani. So that's straightforward. That's where we get her name. Bhavani, the wife of Bhava, the wife of Lord Shiva. But when we speak about, but now we're speaking about the husband of the wife of Lord Shiva. Shiva Patnir Partha Iha Shunite Birudho Moti Krit Shabda Shastre Nahi Shuto. It is contradictory to hear that Lord Shiva's wife has another husband. The use of such words in literature creates the fault called Virudha Motikrit. Brahmana Patnir Partar Hoshte Dehadan Shabdo Shunite Hoy Tutiya Parta Gyan. If someone says, place this charity in the hand of the husband of the wife of the Brahmin, when we hear these contradictory words, we immediately understand that the Brahmin's wife has another husband. So now Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is clarifying why this is a fault. The husband of the wife of Lord Shiva, Bhavani Bhartra. That's like saying the husband of the wife of the Brahmin. So if you say that, give this charity to the husband of the wife of the Brahmin, it sounds like the Brahmini has another husband. Vibhavati Kriyai Bhakya Shanga Puna Vishesham Adbhutagun E Punar Ata Dusham. So that's, now we're coming to another fault, but this one is clear that the husband of the wife of the Brahmin is an embarrassing Maha Dosh, a big fault. The statement by the word Vibhavati, flourishes, is complete. Qualifying it with the adjective Adbhuta Guna, wonderful qualities, creates the fault of redundancy. We can see this, well, it happens in English composition. What we've said is already there, but then we go on speaking, we add something, and it's already clear what you're talking about, but you say it again. So that's redundancy. And of course, in poetry, you have to be sharp. You have to be clear. You can't have these faults in poetry. In ordinary prose, you know, especially ordinary speech, we say things and we know they're redundant. It's like, yeah, it's redundant and said twice. We understand that. That itself is a redundancy, but if I'm speaking, I can be redundant. I can say, well, it's redundant and said twice, and no one's going to pick an issue with that. But if I do that in poetry, that's bad, because poetry is supposed to be finally owned. and we shouldn't have this kind of mistake.
We have
Praveen
something.
says, yes.
Saraswati Mataji, would you be able to take chat from now on?
Yes.
Thank you.
So Praveen has a comment.
Yeah, Saraswati Mataji, if you're available.
Yes. The Caitanya Bhagavata mentions that the students were on the verge of laughter.
Yeah, you can just see it. Here's like the great Digvijay, the conqueror of all directions, and he's first of all tried to bluff Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Hey kid, what can you say about poetry? You're just a grammar teacher. You're out of your league. And so and then when challenged about the verse, he says, no faults, it's perfect. It only has good qualities. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is tearing it apart. So you can imagine the students were on the verge of laughter. The professor here is being just torn down.
Guru Maharaj, can I ask a question?
Yes.
We already know that Keshav Kashmiri has been endowed with such skills and talents directly from Mother Saraswati. So these rudimentary type of errors that are being pointed out, is that all a result of his having lost that ability and that skill because of his offenses against Chaitanya Mahaprabhuji? So he's temporarily lost that skill? Hare Krishna.
It will be mentioned in the later in the text that Saraswati clouded his skill. I don't recall that it was specifically said to be because of offenses, but certainly it was because Saraswati withdrew clouded his mind. He should have seen these things. Yeah. And they weren't, as I mentioned, they weren't necessarily such obvious faults. If an ordinary person heard this verse, or perhaps even an ordinary poet, I don't know that the poet would have said, this, and this, and this. It took a skilled analyst to catch these. So it was not just obvious blunders by Keshav Kashmir. Now it's obvious to us, but they weren't at first obvious. They became obvious when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu pointed them out. So Mahaprabhu's wonderful scholarship is being highlighted.
We have another comment by Praveen Prabhuji. The Chaitanya Bhagavat mentions that in the dream, Devi says that who could defeat the Supreme Lord?
Yes. So that finally comes to Keshav Kashmiri finally understands from Saraswati that, well, what do you expect? This is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's my master also. Okay, shall we return to the faults? Teen pade anuprash, deki anupam, eko pade nahi e dosha bhagnakram. There's extraordinary alliteration in 3 lines of the verse, but in 1 line, no such alliteration. This is the fault of deviation. We know what alliteration is if we say 4 fabulous fellows from Philadelphia, then we're repeating the same sound multiple times. That's alliteration. And it will be explained as the text goes on what the relevant instance is here. Anukram means the system, the step-by-step, the system for presenting the system in which things are presented. So the system should be that if you use alliteration, use it consistently. If you have it in one line, have it in the next line. So, and if you don't, then the anukram is bhagna. Bhagna means broken. So that's the fault. Yodyopi e shloke ache poncha alankar e poncho doshe shloka koilo charukar. Although there are 5 literary ornaments decorating this verse, the entire verse has been spoiled by these 5 most faulty presentations. Now, I don't see, I know I've seen what the alliteration mentioned here is. Maybe it was in the previous, that earlier verse where it was described. Let's just see. Yeah, in the first, third, and fourth lines, there's anuprash, or alliteration, created by the sounds ta, ra, and pa. But in the second line, no such anuprash, and therefore the order is broken. And that's the, and if we could look back at the verse, I suppose we'd see ra, and pa. Yeah, like that last Avani part where Bhavati and Bhuta. So you've got Pa there. And so on. You get the idea. Dosha alankare yoni eka shloko hoy eka doshe shobo eka doshe shobo alankar hoy koi. If there are 10 literary ornaments in a verse, but even one faulty expression, the entire verse is nullified. Sundar Shorira Yoiche Bhushane Bhushito Eka Shweta Kushte Yoiche Koreye Vigita. One's beautiful body may be decorated with jewels, but one spot of white leprosy makes the entire body abominable. The great sage Partmuni, an authority on poetic metaphor, has given his opinion in this connection as follows. Prasalankara vat kavyam doshayuk ched vibhushitam syadvapu sundaram api svitrain aikena durbakam. As one's body, although well decorated with ornaments, is made unfortunate by even one spite of white leprosy, so an entire poem is made useless by a fault, despite alliteration, similes, and metaphors. So here's the evidence that if there were even one fault in the verse, that ruins the composition. And here we've got what? 5 faults. You've got anuprash, bhagna anuprash, the alliteration is broken. You've got punarukti, redundancy. You've got the predicate appearing before the subject, and worst of all, you've got this contradiction in meaning brought about by Bhavani Bartra, the wife of the husband of Lord Shiva. Ooh. So it's like leprosy, a little spot of white leprosy. You're casting for models for your advertisement, and there's someone who's handsome, and he looks just the part. He's got the right attitude, everything. But if there's a spot of white leprosy on his face, well, no, he's not the guy we want. All those good qualities are spoiled by that one fault. So here it is, evidence from authority that if there were even one fault in a poetic verse, then the whole verse is ruined despite its good qualities. Pancha alankarer eve shunoho bichar dvi shabdalankar teen arto alankar. And now here the description of the 5 literary embellishments. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had said, please speak of the good qualities and the faults. No, there are no faults, just good qualities. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, no, there are good qualities and there are faults. So he's discussed the faults. Now, the good qualities, there are 2 ornaments of sound and 3 ornaments of meaning. So Shabda Alankar and Arto Alankar. 3 ornaments of sound, Shabda, and 2 ornaments of sound and 3 of meaning, Arta. Shabdalankara teen pade ache anupraj Sri Lakshmi Shabde Punar Uktavad Abhash. There's a sound ornament of alliteration in 3 lines. So, of course, you've missed the 4th line, but 3 have beautiful alliteration. And in the combination of the words Shri and Lakshmi, there's the ornament of a tinge of redundancy. Abhash means just a tinge. Pratama Chorone Panchata Karir Anti Tritiya Chorone Hoy Pancha Repa Stiti. In the arrangement of the first line, the letter Ta occurs 5 times. And the arrangement of the 3rd line repeats the letter Ra 5 times. Yeah, so now that's coming in. Chaturartha Chodane Chadi Pa Pakar Prakash. Pateva Shabdalankar Anulankar Anuprash. In the 4th line, the word the sound, the letter Pa, occurs 4 times. This arrangement of alliteration is a pleasing ornamental use of sound. Shri Shabde, Lakshmi Shabde, Ekabhashtu Ukta, Punar Ukta Prai Ashe, Nahi Punar Ukta. Although the words Shri and Lakshmi convey the same meaning and are therefore almost redundant, they are nevertheless not redundant. Shri Yukta Lakshmi Arte Vibhed Punar Uktabad Abhasha Shabdalankar Bhed. Describing Lakshmi as possessed of Shri, opulence, offers a difference in meaning with a tinge of repetition. This is the 2nd ornamental use of words. So this artistry is appreciated, that it's almost redundant, or it could be criticized as redundant. Shri and Lakshmi are the same, but there's an extra meaning there, that Shri, opulence. So Lakshmi has opulence, Shri. So although it seems redundant, there's an extra shade. Okay. The use of the words Lakshmi or Eva, like Lakshmi, manifests ornament, further ornamented meaning called Virodhabhasha, or a contradictory indication.
It looks like Guru Maharaj is having a problem with his internet. Let's see if he connects again.
Everyone knows that lotus flowers grow in the water of birth from a lotus flower. Seems extremely contradictory. Iha Vishnu Pad Padme Kangar Utpati Virodha Lankar Iha Mahat Chomatkriti. From the lotus feet of the Lord. Although this statement that water comes from a lotus flower is a contradiction, in connection with Lord Vishnu, it is a great wonder. So this is another ornament. If you used to say something that's totally contradictory, but true, but justified, is chamatkar. Chamatkar means wonderful. The Kavi Karnapur, in his discussions about poetry, points this out as a quality of good poetry, that it should be chamatkar. There should be something wonderful, astonishing, not the usual pedestrian, well, this is what we expected. It should be wonderful. There should be something surprising, astonishing. So this qualifies, because it's contradictory to say that Ganges comes from to say that the Ganges, that water comes from a flower. No, that the lotus flower is supposed to come from water. So this is totally backwards. But in connection with Vishnu, it's justified because the water comes from the lotus flower feet of the Lord. Ishara Chincha Shoktye Gangar Prakash Ihate Birodha Nahi Birodha Apash. In this birth of the Ganges by the inconceivable potency of the Lord, there's no contradiction, although it appears contradictory. Purport. The central point of all Vaishnava philosophy, well, let's see. Actually, this was going to be a fairly long purport, Do we want to take it on? I guess we have a little bit of time. All right, let's do it. The central point of all Vaishnava philosophy is to accept the inconceivable potency of Lord Vishnu. What sometimes appears contradictory from a material viewpoint is understandable in connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, because he can perform contradictory activities by dint of his inconceivable potencies. Modern scientists are puzzled. They cannot even explain how such a large quantity of chemicals has formed the atmosphere. Scientists explain that water is a combination of hydrogen and oxygen. But when asked where such a large quantity of hydrogen and oxygen came from, and how they combined to manufacture the great oceans and seas, they cannot answer, because they're atheists who will not accept that everything comes from life. Their thesis is that life comes from matter. Where do all these chemicals come from? The answer is that they're produced by the inconceivable energy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Living entities are part of the Supreme Godhead, and from their bodies come many chemicals. For example, the lemon tree is a living entity that produces many lemons. And within each lemon is a great deal of citric acid. Therefore, if even an insignificant living entity who's but a part of the Supreme Lord can produce so much of a chemical, how much potency there must be in the body of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Scientists cannot perfectly explain where the chemicals of the world are manufactured, but one can explain this perfectly by accepting the inconceivable energy of the Supreme Lord. There's no reason for denying this argument, since there are potencies in living entities who are samples of the personality of Godhead. How much potency there must be in the Supreme Godhead himself. As described in the Vedas, Nityo Nityanam Chaitanas Chaitananam. He is the chief eternal of all eternals and the chief living entity among all living entities. Unfortunately, atheistic science will not accept that matter comes from life. Scientists insist upon their most illogical and matter, although this is in their laboratories that matter can produce life. Yet there are thousands and thousands of examples illustrating that matter comes from life. Therefore, in Sri Caitanya Caritamrita, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says that as soon as one accepts the inconceivable potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, no great philosopher or scientist can put forward any thesis to contradict the Lord's power. This is expressed in the following Sanskrit verse. So, Achintya Shakti. There's no meaning to Supreme Personality of Godhead without inconceivable power. And as soon as he has unlimited inconceivable power, then there's nothing he can't do, no limit that we can place. No, he couldn't do this, he couldn't do that. He can do everything. All right, we can stop here.
Krishna Kunte Prabhuji, are you available for leading the closing kirtan?
Haribol. Yes, Mataji. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Hari Bo, Gaur Hari Bo, Nitai Gaur, Premanande, Hari Bo, Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasaya Bhutale Srimati Guru Das Swami Iti Namine Ma Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Saraswati Goswami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharne Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Bhaskar Deshtane Namo Brahmaya Devaya Go Brahmanadaya Cha Jagadhiridaya Krishnaya Govindaya Namo Namaha. All glory to the Assembly devotees. All glory to the Assembly devotees. All glory to the Assembly devotees. Jai Sri Guru Angaranga Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for a wonderful kirtan. Thank you to all the Vaishnavas for joining. And koti koti pranams to His Holiness Gurudev Jayādvaita Maharaj Ki Jai.
Jai.
Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Samvita Bhakta Brinda Ki Jai. Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.